Morning, Zoomers. Can you hear me okay? You can. Wonderful. And you can still hear me okay if I'm back here. Give me another thumbs up if that still sounds good. It does. Great. Welcome, roomers, and welcome, Zoomers. Congratulations, everybody. You made it. Bring yourself morning. Bring yourself up to standing if that's okay. I'd be grateful. We're going to stand in Tadasana. That's the mountain pose. If we face towards these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, that would be lovely. Feet together, hands at the heart center. So the feet, I say feet together, they don't have to be physically touching. Sometimes our legs touch before our feet, and then it would be not wise to bring the feet together under those circumstances. But whatever the feet are like, they should be level. And secondarily, we can spread the toes and move the tissue on the balls of the feet and across the arches as a way of relaxing, as a way of arriving on what is a lovely sunny day. Interlace your fingers to their roots, still breathing through your nose. Stretch your arms diagonally down. And then raise up. When you raise your arms up, tone your tummy up. If for any reason it's problematic to raise the arms, of course, you can still stretch your ribs and chest with your hands on your hips. As you raise your arms, suck the tummy in, find the pelvic floor, look for height there, buoyancy, you could say, support, you could say. Mūlādhāra actually means the root support. Dhāra means support. So as you're moving left and right, look at areas of the body that could flow better, that could be drawn together into the flow, and keep breathing easefully. Big wide circle, hands to the heart, breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft. And then we'll repeat pretty much the same thing. Interlace your fingers. Stretch your arms diagonally down, raise the arms up. And once more, as the arms go up, the tummy is drawn in. We find the pelvic floor, which is, it's not a particular thing that you're supposed to feel like this rather than like that. It's just the way it is, It's just the way it is. So you find the pelvic floor. And what we normally find is some sort of sense of support, adhara, which supports energy. It stops us it keeps us focused. It supports the energy remaining in what we call the central channel, the madhya nadi. Great, and then release the arms through a big circle, hands back to prayer. Take 3 deep breaths. Perhaps there's movement of the rest of the body as a way of tuning in, / tuning out. Tune out of one thing to tune into another. Just think of radio stations on an old-fashioned radio. And then interlace your fingers. Stretch your arms diagonally down. Raise your arms up for the third time. And again, of course, our subject's called yoga. And we know that yoga, according to Panani, comes from a root, yuj, from which we get many other words, incredible system that Panani drew together, making thereafter classical yoga. So the root, yuj, is same that we have in English words like to yoke, to bring 2 things together, joining, coupling, or union. So think of that as you're raising up, joining, coupling, union, bringing everything together. And this togetherness we can think of as prakriti. If we're looking at Patanjali yoga or Sankhya yoga, it's prakriti, which is everything, a field of everything, the everything field, which is experiential here and now. Take a big wide circle, hands to the heart. Stretch out your toes, shake off a little bit so you're feeling loose and breath-centered and happy and well. And then raise your arms one more time, but this time without interlaced fingers. Lightly tone the tum And reiteratively find the adhara, the support, by drawing in and up. So what happens higher up in the torso affects what's happening in the pelvic floor. The mūlādhāra is the root support. And so this root support is buoyant. It's not a muscular contrivance. It's not on rather than off. It's awake. So awake doesn't have any labels. It doesn't have any limitations. Awake is allowed to flow. Press your feet, raise your fingers on the inhalation. On the exhalation, bend your ankles, knees, and hips, and play with a pose. So up, down, left, right, leaning forwards from the hip joints and adapting moment to moment in a way that suits you. Of course, the pose is called utkaṭa. Utkaṭa means to squat. So some people are comfortable to squat. That's something you're welcome to do if you are comfortable to squat, or to squat a little lower. We can have high squats, middle squats, low squats. And then continue your journey back up calmly, big wide circle, hands to the heart. You can either step or jump, up to you. And then turn your left toes in, right foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. That way we avoid the very naughty heel to heel. We don't want to see that very naughty alignment. We want heel to arch. That's the very good alignment. Back toes turned in. Just have a look, just double check. Back toes turned in. Yes, they are. Great, super. Inhale, exhale. Utthita Trikonasana. Both legs are straight. Don't hold the breath. Let it be a meditation, a study where you study the sensations and look for absorption. So that's going to involve movement. Hand touches the leg, perhaps. Don't hold the breath. Scan and search for enjoyment. Breath-centered, meditative. Disappearing into the richness of this field of which everything partakes, but most obviously at first, body, brain, breath. Inhaling calmly. Hands onto the hips, feet face forwards, deep breaths, plural. So letting the breath come and go, turning the back toes in while you're still breathing deeply, front foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Raise the arms, lightly tone the tummy. Again, we'll find that what goes on in the tummy affects the pelvic floor. Inhale, exhale. Lovely. And then feel, or it's sort of a changing experience. So changeability. Both legs are straight. Breath is everything. What makes you a great yoga practitioner is not your level of strength or flexibility. Both legs are straight. Breathing deep. Jaw soft. Commitment to the breath. And the guru. Inhale calmly. Come on up. Walk your feet towards each other. Kick off or shake off any tensions. Bring your feet together. Stay loose. So, whatever needs to happen for you to stay loose, we're going to come into vrikshasana. So you can simply bring your heel to your ankle, thus, or you can cup your knee, thus, or you can bring your foot high up to the top of the pelvis. All of those are fine, and probably loads of other things are fine as well. Why wouldn't they be? Hands to prayer. Breathe through your nose, if you can. It's an exciting moment-to-moment meditation on love. So love allows. So that's the sort of basic statement. Love allows. And of course, the thinking mind can come up with lots of counter arguments to love allows. Please feel free to address those to me later on if you need to, by text, email, or directly. I have good, strong, clear responses. But for now, you might get straight away, love allows. You might just get that on a sort of a direct level. It's traditional in tree pose to outstay your welcome. Just spend ages in it. Despite that, we'll come out now of that side, feet together, shake off any tension you need to shake off, take deep breaths when you need to take them. So you're beginning, I hope, to really start to feel relaxed, and that's coming through in the breath, and it comes with us as we raise the other heel, and you've got all those choices, ankle, cupping the knee, etc., or up at the top of the thigh. If you're slipping on your leggings, you can tie a belt around the leggings. That helps to stop the foot slipping. Breathing through the nose if you can. Jaw soft. So it's a meditation on love, and love allows. And of course, that's deliberately not got any qualifiers. What does love allow? It's just no qualifiers. Love allows. And that way we become awake, and it's awakeness that responds appropriately. So the counter argument to love allows is, do we allow things to happen in the world that are negative, or to ourselves that are negative, or destructive, or problematic, or abusive? But love allows means that you're allowing everything into consciousness, fully awake, fully aware. And then the response comes out of awareness, or Buddhahood. Great. Okay, place your foot with calmness back down. Take a breath, shake it off. A little homage to Taylor Swift there. And then going wider with your feet and turning your toes out as much as you can whilst not falling over. Because we don't want to fall over. As much as you can with that. Now, as you come down, bending down, some of you might find you can turn your feet a little more outwards, away from each other. So you can, if you can, you can. And you're moving side to side. Now we're going to place our hands on the thighs and take those deep, natural breaths and letting movement happen. Letting movement happen. Obviously, there's a little counterbalancing from the derrière, which is French for bottom. Okay. Sometimes people will like to experiment with reaching down. You can if you want. See how that goes. It's all about the breath. The utility of reaching the floor, which of course we can't all do it yet, and that's fine. It's not the goal of the pose. The goal is meditation. But the utility is once your feet are on the floor, you've got an extra point of balance, which you can then use to extend your toes, as I'm doing now. Breathing easy. Okay, calmly, coming back up. Well done. Turn the feet forwards. Now you might need a block or two so you can walk your feet together to get them, because we're going to forward fold to bring our hands onto the floor. If that's tricky, which it oftentimes is, then we use blocks for our hands to come to, because what we don't want to do is round the body at the front like that. So spread your toes, turn your toes in, and particularly extend the little toe side of the feet. And when ready, extending up from your inner groins, And exhaling forwards to the floor or blocks. It depends on how far the hamstrings release us at this time of the day. For some people, reaching the floor is fine, easy, because the arms are long and the legs are short, perhaps. But for many of us, using blocks is the way to keep this lovely spacious feeling on the front of the spine. Breathing, if we can, through our noses, balancing and rebalancing the feet. So this is called Prasrita Padottanasana Ekam, and it's a great opportunity to balance and rebalance your feet. In other words, lifting and landing your feet with a view to get a sense of equality between outer ankle and inner ankle, both equally alive. If the pelvis continues to move, then fine, go with it. But for most of us, there's so much in this. And yogis are people that are known for their abilities to find more in less. They're not always looking for more, they find more in less. There's a lot of relationships to explore between the inner and outer ankle, as I've mentioned. Between the outer ankle and the inner ankle, the outer ankle goes in and the inner ankle goes up, but more sophisticatedly than words can say, more subtle, more alive. Very good. Back to the highest point you can get to, whether that be on your blocks or whether that be on your fingertips, and just walk your feet a little closer to each other before leading with the chest and coming up all the way. Bring your energy down to your feet and walk your feet towards each other. Have a little shake off and bring your feet close or together. Once you're feeling loose, raise up your left arm and bring your right hand onto your tummy and draw your tummy back away from your hand. So then with the feet quite close to each other, tummy back away from your hand, and then stretch high and then over. And the more you go over, the more we can imagine that we can feel the mūlādhāra rising, or the energetic. And you can bring your hand off your tummy onto your leg. Breathe through your nose if you can. So the more, if you go over further, the pelvic floor feels like energetically it goes up higher. That's the kind of vibe. Don't hold your breath. It can feel intense. So nothing wrong with, having a face that looks like it feels intense or breathing like it's intense. We don't have to have our sort of tranquil yoga face. Inhale, come on up. I'm not saying, that if you've got a tranquil yoga face, then you're wrong with that either. Raise up your other arm. Similarly, draw the tummy in away from your hand and stretch up and over. Again, get that sense of the pelvic floor. Breathe through your nose if you can. Your hand can come off your tummy onto your leg when you feel ready. Keep the jaw soft. Tummy lightly toned. Breathing through the nose. Okay. Inhaling to come up, hands on the hips. Step your feet into a generous stride. Turn your left toes in. Right foot first on the ball of the foot. Then the last bit is done on the heel. And that will give us heel to arch alignment. Stretch into your back leg when you bend your front knee. Stretch into your back leg. You can see what a sort of long stride you need to make sure you don't overshoot your knee and that you can stretch through both legs. So spend a bit of time releasing around the groin of the back leg, perhaps playing with the heels, lifting or landing them, or toes of either leg. And then when you feel incorporated, which can continue, turn your head to look along your arm and breathe through your nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Deep, honest breath. always looking for greater incorporation. You know, if there's anything that doesn't feel like it's in this, you find it and find ways to bring it in. What do you might even ask the body, what do you need? What does this part of the body need? Good job. Inhale to come up. Well done. Hands to hips, breathing deep. Expressive, movement natural, so you can shake it off, you can move the pelvis. So there's flow. Back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finish another heel. So I said that a bit quick. Heel to arch alignment. And then raise your arms if you're ready. Actually, no, raise your arms, bring them down again. Sorry. Just concentrate on the legs first. So bending the legs, bending the front leg, that is, and playing into the back leg, the tissue around the inner groin, the tissue between the legs, experimenting, investigating, playing, without tensing the jaw. And if you feel incorporated, or when you start feeling incorporated, raise your arm. That doesn't mean that you're no longer focused on your legs. You absolutely can be. Turning your head. This is the warrior number 2, ipso facto. Breathe into it. Keep your back arm up level with your front arm if you don't mind. Be groovy. Keep playing with it, seeing if you can get greater levels or layers of incorporation, togetherness. Very good. Stand up straight in the middle with the torso, that is. Inhale. Come on up, slowly, calmly. Well done. Hands on the hips. Breathe through your nose. Expressively, hopefully. So it really gets your breath going. When your breath is going, your heart's going, hopefully. Mine is, anyway. And that's really good. So that's circulation. And I know what you're thinking. I loved that pose, Jim. I loved it so much, I'd like to do exactly the same pose again. All right, then. Turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Virabhadrasana, number 2, worth doing twice. Bend your knee. That's Virabhadrasana number 2's catchphrase. Hi, I'm Virabhadrasana number 2. I'm worth doing twice. So as you come down, again, investigation, movement for the purpose of togetherness. So that can mean lifting your heels, toes, whatever works, in incorporating various fibers. And that's an ongoing process. It's not that you get there, then you're expected to just kind of look specially yogic or something. You know, it's an ongoing process. When you're ready to raise the arms, go ahead, but you're still aware of the legs, of course, turning your head as before in this beautiful Virabhadrasana. Keep incorporating. And breathing, of course. Deep, honest, expressive. Well done. Inhale with the pelvic floor in your awareness to come up. Hands on the hips, feet face forwards, deep breaths. So don't be shy, really take a few properly expressive breaths. Sometimes you need something strong to imprint into the nervous system to evoke a release of what the nervous system's holding. So that's what we apply. Back toes in, front foot and leg out. Tivra samveganam asanaha. That's just a quote from Patanjali that points to the importance of intensity. When you're ready, similarly, bend your knee and incorporate. So we're not just going through the motions, thinking about the past or future. We're required here now to investigate, to study, to play, to align, to understand that alignment is continuous. This year is the 34th year of my regular, very, very regular yoga practice. And, you know, I'm nowhere near any sort of finish line. Stretching your arms out, turning your head if you're ready, breathing through your nose. So, you know, the pose is an ongoing adjustment and readjustment. Stand up straight in the middle of it, so your torso is upright. It's the head that turns. Very good, very good. Breathe through your nose. Back arm level with the front arm, if you can. Keep incorporating. Try not to hold it like a statue. Incorporate. Okay. Inhale. Come on up. Well done. Hands on the hips. Deep breaths. Shake it off. Hip joints are here. If you put your hands on your hips, you're going to put them here, but the hip joints are lower. So find where the hip joints are, and then raise your arms up from the hip joints, toning the tummy as you go. So really try and feel. Call yourself to witness, as it were. Really try and feel. Don't hold on to the breath. Let it be a beautiful surrender into this powerful moment. Turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out. We're turning towards the sun. And so turning, and walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. Obviously, Zoomers at home, I don't know which way the sun is for you at home, and it may or may not be possible to turn towards it, but metaphorically at least, we're turning towards the sun. So once you walk the front foot further across the width of the mat, make sure you've lifted your back heel, turned it out, and then brought it down again. It lifts, turns out, and then comes back down again. The roots of the neck should be part of the energetic flow. Bend your front knee, breathing through your nose. Stretch through your back leg. Lightly tone your tummy. Reiterate. So that means move and then move again. Reiterate. Not holding the breath, moving and then moving again, reiterating. Stretching up from the inner groin of the back leg isn't just a physical action, it's something we agree to with our breath. This is Virabhadrasana number 1. And you're probably thinking, oh, I hope he follows the rule he followed with Virabhadrasana number 2 and only does this one once thereby. Okay, inhale, come on up. Turn back to the front, take a big circle with your arms, hands on your hips, take a deep breath, level up your feet. Take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 deep breaths. Again, shake it off so you can tune in on the natural organic responses of the pelvic floor muscles. Stretch your arms, turn your palms, raise your arms up. Breathe through your nose. Lightly toning the tummy. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning in the opposite direction over across the road. Well, I'll be on Thursday teaching our dear friends at Sovereign House. Lift the back heel, externally rotate it and land it again. Reiteratively toning the tummy without holding the breath. Inhale, stretch high from the hip joints. Exhale, bend your front leg. A lot of it's about what's going on the back leg, especially from the inner groin. And that's not just physical, because there has never been anything that's just physical ever. While there's a mind and a body in the same vicinity, then they are together. While the mind, the body, and breath, they will affect each other, whether consciously or otherwise. Reiterate multiple times. Don't hold the breath. Using various movements to work the body round. You can even do things like lifting the back heel, or even all of the back foot except the ball of the foot on the big toe side. Just for moments at a time, and you can really use that to steer the body into greater agreement, as we often call it in yoga, agreement. Okay, inhale calmly. Pelvic floor in your awareness, big circle with your arms, hands on your hips. Deep breaths. Well done, everyone. Shake it off. Now there's another warrior pose, and unfortunately for you and me, it's warrior number 3, which you know what that might mean. You can open a window, yeah, why not? Francis has already done that. And everyone's rushing for windows now. Some people trying to get out of them. And we're going to stand in the middle of our mat. So we're going to do Virabhadrasana 3. Now this way, if you face towards the center line, if you're in the room here at home, you can get any direction you like. Perhaps if you're watching morning TV, you could face towards the TV for an extra good view. Feet together, breathing easy. Raise the arms up. Don't watch television and do yoga. Raise your arms up. Lightly tone the tummy. Release the roots of the neck. Take the leg that's furthest away from me backwards and touch the floor with your toes. Make sure the roots of the neck are soft, and there's reiterative, almost like combing sensations in and up along the front of the body. Keep taking your back toes back and back until they come up, and then begin pivoting from your hip joint of your front leg. How far down doesn't matter. It can be keeping very light contact with the floor. It can be lifting the foot right up off the floor. It can be tilting further. Breath is everything. So Vira Bhadra. Vira means hero. Bhadra means good. Okay. Well done. Come back to touch the floor with your toe tips. If you're desperate to come out, that's fine. You're allowed to be desperate. Back foot comes forwards. Shake it off. Just give your arms a little break. Hands to your heart. 3 deep breaths. Really expressive and loose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Raise your arms when you're ready. Make sure the roots of your neck are loose. Good job, everyone. Take your other foot back this time. Lightly tone, reiteratively tone. Make sure everything's part of the flow, including your neck. And so this position already, you could say, is a station in Virabhadrasana number 3. Taking the toes back until they're lightly touching the floor with tone in the tummy is also a good station. You could lift the foot, but you don't have to. And then up to you how much you tilt over the pivotal point, as it were, of the hip joint. The more the body goes down, the more the leg goes up, and vice versa. Breathing easy, breathing natural. Okay. Coming back to your toe tips. Some of you heard okay has come out, that's fine. And then step your foot, take a big wide circle. Hands to the heart, a few deep breaths. Obviously, that's a difficult pose. Well done. We are going to do it once more, not 3 times in total, just 2, because I'm full of hearts and love. So this time, face towards me, hands on your hips, step your feet apart generously. Okay. I should say you will need clearance this away, so just be mindful of that and step right over on the far side of your mat. So you need clearance to one side of the mat. Stretch your arms, turn your palms, raise up. Lightly tone your tummy. Good job. Make sure the roots of the neck are soft. Turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning towards sovereign house. And walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. Lift the back heel, externally rotate it and bring it down again. Lightly tone the tummy reiteratively. Inhale, stretch high from the hips. Exhale, bend your front knee. Play with it, just as we did earlier, as we were practicing Virabhadrasana number 1. So things like raising the heels could be used, or the toes, or whatever helps incorporation into Virabhadrasana. Now this time, we're going to lift the back heel, stay on the ball of the back foot, but you rotate out on the ball of the foot so the heel comes out. Then we lean forwards until our ribs touch our thighs. Walk the back foot in and launch up when you're ready. Virabhadrasana number 3. Very tricky to keep a smile on your face during this. Keep breathing into the palms. Good job. While you've still got something in the tank, bend your knee, go back to Virabhadrasana number 1. Keep toned in the tum. Wonderful. With the pelvic floor in your awareness, inhale to come up, turn back to the front, big circle. Deep breaths, I should think. So letting the deep breaths happen. These are so good for the flow of the body, for the flow of lymph, which helps your immune system, for the flow of blood, which will help the blood circulatory system. And of course, for the flow of prana, energy, or the vayus, the winds, which those terms are synonyms. Stretch your arms, turn your palms, raise up. This is our final Virabhadrasana 3, unless you're going to go home and do more later. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning. Walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. And don't forget to lift the back heel externally rotated. Again, you'll need clearance in front of you, so hopefully you've planned for that. Inhale, stretch up from your hip joints. Exhale, bend your front knee. Standing upright in Virabhadrasana number 1, playing with it to look for incorporation. What I love about yoga is whatever your body is like today, yoga adapts. In fact, you could describe yoga as adaptive. It's adaptive over the theme, the central theme of incorporation, yoga. I think it's lovely to stay in Virabhadrasana number 1, but being a kind gentleman, we'll lift the back heel, externally rotate on the ball of the back foot, bring our bodies forwards, ribs to touch the thighs, and then walk in, walk in, walk in, until you can launch up. Breathe through your nose if you can. Keep the breath flowing. It's a moment-to-moment awareness. Jaw passive. Okay. While you've got something in the tank, bend your knee, go back to a skillful Virabhadrasana number 1. Keep breathing freely. Well done. Inhale, with the pelvic floor in your awareness, stand up. Bring your back foot forwards and take your feet hip width apart. Have a look down at your toes, make sure that they're facing straight ahead. We imagine that we're standing on little railway tracks. They're not electrified and there's no little trains due for ages. So you can stand on those tracks. And you're looking for the track to go through the gap between the second and third toe and out of the middle of the heel. Raise your arms up. When you're ready, inhale, stretch from the groins happily. Exhale, fold and bring your hands flat to the floor, which probably means bending the knees in most cases. Jaw passive, jaw soft. Breathing deep, breathing honest. Breathing deep, breathing honest. If there's any dullness, aching or pain in the back, bend the knees or bend them more. It's possible you could release dullness, aching and pain in a few cases, even with straight legs, but not most. And with straight legs, you do that through movements, thereby hydrating the hamstrings and tuning in the front thighs to further help release the hamstrings. Great. Step back towards the back of your mat into Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is showing all the promising signs that we might at last be coming out of the standing poses. Breathing deep, breathing honest, investigating some movements that are investigative, stretching up through the armpits to the groins, stretching up through the inner armpits and outer, all the way up to the groins, and it's from there that we hang the body. Bring your shoulders forwards, and if there's big problems with doing this with the wrists, you can do this on the forearms, although even if the wrists are uncomfortable, this can be a beneficial thing to do. Breathe through your nose if you can. Allow movement. This is Kumbhakasana. The happy and marvelous Chaturanga Dandasana is where we hover for a second before pushing up, or we do our own version, hoping to get away with whatever it is we just did. We're going up to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, downward, the upward facing dog, with tone in the tummy. Breathing through your nose if you can. Investigative awareness, particularly around the pelvic floor. That can make worlds of difference if you're aware of your pelvic floor. Well done. Drop your knees. Come to hands and knees. Catch a great big stonking breath as it comes in and out. Yeah, and a few more of those great big stonking breaths. And that's the flow we're looking for. This is the return to the mother field. And of course, spontaneous movements might be part of that. Bring the knee that's furthest from me directly behind the wrist that's furthest from me. Bring the foot diagonally across the body and stretch back your other leg. Some people find it useful to use a block or a blanket between the floor and the buttock. If there's pain in the medial knee, the inner knee, leaning across the knee oftentimes helps. If there's no pain, fine. You can either come down and take breaths like that, or come up and take breaths like that. Or you can do both if you want. You just got to find which one is most conducive to you releasing here and now. To you releasing here and now. So it's all about the breath. Jaw passive, tummy tone. Tummy toned. Pelvic floor has a certain intelligence, you could say, like responsiveness, awakeness, beyond thinking. Unmani means beyond thinking. If you're up, come down a bit. And if you're down, come up a bit. Tuck your back toes under, come back to hands and knees. Catch your breath there. Perhaps a few really deep breaths. Jaw soft, eyes soft. The other knee goes directly behind the other wrist. The foot moves diagonally across the body. And you stretch back in your own time. Sometimes it's worth working it into the body, the little massagey movement. Don't hold the breath. Let that flow. You can come straight down to your forearms if that's what brings you here and now release in the breath. That's what we're looking for, here and now release in the breath. Or if it's being up that brings that release, that's also fine. Here and now release in the breath is what we're looking for. We're not looking to sort of, please displeased imaginary parents in the past. We're not, looking to impress peers that never noticed us before. We're just serving the breath. Like, what can I do for you? You say that to the breath. Because the breath is the vehicle, the number one vehicle to take us back to the source, the mother field, where all personal pain and victory is resolved back into the universal. Clinging is negated via the mother field, like that. If you're up, come down a bit. If you're down, come up a bit. And tuck your back toes under, bring your back knee forwards. Come back to hands and knees where you take 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths with a little movement of the pelvis. We're going to bring the knees a little further forwards and then kneeling, which we can and must do if our needs require it. Place a block or blanket between the heels and buttocks, or 2 blocks and blankets between the heels and buttocks. If the ankles are tight, you can also put a blanket roll up underneath the front ankles. So you could end up with a blanket roll underneath the front ankles and a block between the heels and buttocks. Either way, as long as you end up sitting in a way that's comfortable for you, here and now that you can really breathe into. Rest one hand on top of the other. Breathe through your nose. Allow a bit of rocking. Don't hold the breath. Soften your eyes. So it's all about the breath. How can I give back to you, breath? Remember, the breath represents the field in the most accurate way. How can I give autonomy back to you, breath? Breath, breath, breath. Well done. Release your hands from whatever position they're in. And we're going to lay on our backs with our feet facing the midline of the room. Although Zoomers at home, you don't have to face your feet to the midline of the room. I mean, I suppose you could if you wanted to muck in with the group vibe, but there's no need for it unless you want to. The head can be supported with a block if the head tilts back. That's to your advantage to do that. Raise one leg straight up. You can pick which one, doesn't matter. And then move your foot between dorsi and plantar flexion, pointing the toe, pushing the heel, breathing without holding the breath. You can include circling the foot. You can include scrunching, unscrunching the toes, and moving between those movements spontaneously. You can include moving the whole leg, backwards, forwards, medial, lateral. You can include bending the knee and re-extending it, or even shaking. So all of these movements are there to incorporate. So anything, you know, what works, it's beyond our precognition. You know, we're not preparing a mental idea and then sticking to it. We're responding to the needs of the flow in the moment. When you feel flowy, then heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other one. My recommendation is to go a little bit beyond the outer ankle onto the flat part of the fibula. But some other yoga teachers might have other opinions, which is fine. Now lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor. Lift your head. There's an inverted triangle you can see. Plunge through it with the same hand as the leg that's closest to your face. Reach around your far shin, back thigh, or use a belt. Bring your head back down. And a bit of a roll about. Wonderful for the back, wonderful for the hip. And wonderful for this beautiful returning to source, which births spontaneously compassion and wisdom. Sometimes you'll find a sensation or area of stretch that you'll want to stay with. Other times you might want to move between multiple areas of stretch. It's not up to you or me, but it's up to our breath. The breath is that in which we trust. The breath is that in which we trust. Great. If you're ready to release, go ahead. Place your feet back down on the floor. Take a deep breath in and out. And another after that, another after that. So there's lots of, it's a beautiful surrender to this richness, which is an direct experience of everything as everything. Not an idea, not something you read about, but a direct experience that the yogin experiences as joyful surrender, as spontaneous movement, as emergent power, etc. Raise up the other leg. And similarly, experiment with dorsiplantar flexion, circling or half circling, scrunching, unscrunching the toes, swinging the leg, left, right, forwards, backwards, bending and extending the knee. So, any way that you feel, whatever's appropriate in the moment, is beyond thinking, therefore beyond doubt. Doubt is one of the main obstacles listed in the Yoga Sutra, the main antaryas. Vyadi, dhyana, samshayara is doubt. Vyadi is illness, dhyana is apathy. Heel in, toes out. When you're ready, cross that leg over the other one. Good job. Lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor. Plunge through the gap between that inverted triangle shape, and then bring the head back down. Of course, the inverted triangle is a very, very important symbol in South Asian soteriology because it represents the Shakti, the goddess. And the goddess also is what we're talking about when we're talking about the field. So rather than surrendering to a sort of arbitrary, although beautifully drawn form of a various goddess, Lakshmi, Kali, Bhuvaneshwari, Dhumavati, or whoever, Saraswati, instead of like externalizing that's some sort of actual being that's sort of like a human but better, and you've got to kind of be a bit apologetic, that kind of relationship. Instead of that, realize that all the goddesses are one goddess, and that goddess represents the field, and that field is now. That field is now. It's this. And so when we're talking about bhakti towards this goddess or that goddess, we're talking about surrender ultimately to the field, which we can evoke the spirit of surrender through various forms. You might have an Ishta Devata, that is a sort of chosen goddess or god that resonates with you. Maybe you like Saraswati, maybe you like Kali, whatever. But they're all ultimately this field. Okay, release and place your feet down on the floor. Pop your hands underneath your head. Take 3 or 4 really deep breaths. With the jaw soft, lower back soft, the eyes soft, neck soft, brain relaxed. And then go ahead and flex your hips, means lift your feet up off the floor with bent knees. Then lift your head, and your lower back will impact into the floor more deeply, which is great. Breathe into that. Jaw soft, study the richness in the deep belly. Study the richness. Don't hold the breath. Remember, serve the breath. What can I do for you, breath? Coming down slowly, head first, feet second, taking a deep breath, which is honest, natural, spontaneous. Let your legs fall away from me. So feet on the floor, feet a little way apart, and then just let your legs fall with your hands still behind your head, away from me. If they fell towards me, that's fine as well. It doesn't matter. Breathe into the stretches you might feel. And imagine that there was peace spreading in the heart, mind, and body. The peace of knowing that this field you already are. It's just we have to recollect or remember. It's called smriti or sati, nowadays translated as mindfulness. What on earth is mindfulness? Is it being overly careful in the way you eat the satsuma? No, of course it's not. Mindfulness is a surrender to the richness of now, ultimately, although that's commonly forgotten in some forms of modern mindfulness. Coming up when ready, scooting the buttocks under, taking deep breaths, and then letting the legs fall to the other side. I'm reminded of mindfulness because my mum brought it up in a phone conversation of all things yesterday. She said, "Oh, have you heard of this thing? You should get into it." She said, "It could be a thing for you. I think it's up and coming, mindfulness." And I said, "Mum, that boat has already sailed." Deep breaths. Mum's always been trying to find my particular niche through which I'll make a fortune in her mind. Breathing deep, very sweet. Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Mum. I don't think I'll ever make the fortune you envision. Inhale, coming back up. Breathing deep. Jaw soft. Roll right over onto your side. Come up from the side and sit in whatever seated position is comfortable for you. So I'm going to suggest Siddhasana, but it could be other. Now, Siddhasana is sitting on a cork block or a brick block with the legs in this position. If that's not comfortable, however, please sit in any comfortable seated position that suits you. Could be cross-legged. It could be cross-legged on two blocks with a blanket under your shins. If you're on two blocks, definitely a blanket is used. And we're just going to have one all-over energy bath, which I'll describe to you now. You're going to breathe in and then rebreathe, which means breathing on top of the inhale. You breathe the inhale, a bit more of the same inhale, maybe a bit more of the same inhale, or with an idea that you're breathing into the pelvic floor. And then you'll take the following action. So here's a demo. And then you breathe out. So I kept that short, only 3 minutes, because, we're not crazy. Or maybe a bit. Anyway, so we're going to take in inhalation, and then a bit more of the inhalation, and then a bit more of the inhalation, and we're going to hold the breath, and then we'll take those actions, that energy bath, those 3 bows and arrows to one side and then to the other, and then we'll release the breath. Okay. So let's do that together. Before we come into Shavasana, we'll just place 3 bija mantras in the body, Om, Hong, with each one associated color. Om, we bring our hands to the forehead, we're placing it there. We're bringing our hands to the throat, placing it there. Hong, we're bringing our hands to the heart. Om, we imagine white light. We imagine blue. Hong, we imagine red. So let's do that together. Deep breaths. You've now placed those mantras in your body as a way of orientating yourself back to the center, so that all action, speech, breath, all will come from the center point. Stay in that center point all day long, and you will have a lovely, super duper day. We're going to lay on our backs now for Shavasana for a couple of minutes. I'll try and keep it on time, because I know some of you have things to do. Make sure you're warm, you're comfortable. Laying on your back. And relatively short, but that doesn't mean it won't be deep. Shavasana. Also known as mūlādhāra. Sometimes people, don't like to use the name Shava because it means corpse. It's sort of sad sort of name. So they choose the other name, Mrita, or mūlādhāra. Unfortunately, that means dead, so you can't win. Corpse pose or dead pose. And that's because, of course, the text tells us, lay on our backs, with our mouths facing the sky, as if we were dead, with limbs loose. Limbs loose. So laying on your back, mouth facing the sky, the limbs loose, as if you were dead. We're told that this is an excellent sanketa practice for melting. Wiggle your toes a little and your fingers. Take some little stretches. I know you'd like to stay longer, but remember the flavor of surrender, the peace of surrender, and stay with that. You can trust in that. When you're ready, bend your legs and place the soles of your feet on the floor. Scoot the buttocks under. Take a deep breath. Roll onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room, and lay as comfortably as you can. Knees drawn up, tummy soft. Rolling again when you feel ready. Bring yourself up calmly from the side. Hands into the prayer position, facing the shrine. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of every single being without a single exemption. Om. Thanks very much, Roomers. Very much appreciate you coming. Thank you all. Thank you very much, Zoomers. I should tell you, Zoomers, ain't no class. I'll tell you, Roomers and Zoomers, actually, ain't no class on Saturday. There ain't no class on Saturday, on Easter Saturday. But all other classes are back on as normal and everything is well. Lovely to see you. Have a lovely, have a lovely Eostra, which is the name of the goddess of Easter. And see you soon. Love you. That's enough. Thanks, guys. Thank you.